Welcome to the PaulaCast. Starring me, Paula Kosienski. I'm actually Paula Kosienski, and I am a comedian, and I feel like every comedian on planet Earth has a podcast, so figured, why not throw my hat in there and try one myself. And I would say so far it's going pretty good. We're like 20 seconds in, and I feel really confident about it. So I think this is going to be good. I'm excited. Today, I also wanted to introduce you to our guest host. He's very funny, and he's very cute, and he is also Asian. Welcome to the podcast, my husband, John Narum.
Oh, hello. My name is John. I'm Paula's husband, and it should be fun.
Yes, John is not only the husband, but he's also, I would say, like a producer of this podcast. He set up all the equipment, he plugged in the computer, and he updated it for me, which was nice. So I'm very thankful that he's here.
Yeah, honestly, you never know how things should come together. We have a very, very detailed booth set up right now for our audio system.
Yeah.
Just like, think of the best technology you can get. That's what you're getting with this podcast right now.
But that's okay, because if we can just get people to listen, that would be a huge win.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I wanted to start a podcast, and I wanted it to feel really, like, casual and nice, kind of like you're at your friend's house, just chatting, maybe with a blanket and a hot beverage, or something like that, but nothing fancy. We do have some fun topics that we're going to cover, hopefully. Today's topic is 2023, a year in review.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, Spotify Wrapped with our life.
Yeah.
So, we're very excited. So we're going to start getting into some different, topics, I guess, about what our year's been like. John is also here to provide excellent commentary, as he's been doing so far. But then also to keep me on track, because if he wasn't here, I would ramble for a long time about random stuff, and this podcast would be 4 hours long. So he's here to keep it.
This is so funny. I think we should actually keep this in the podcast. You can turn your sound off, but before this, Paula was like, I'll make sure the sound is off on my phone, and
Alright, now it's off.
Oh, now it's off.
Let's be professional, okay? This is a professional thing.
Yeah.
Alright,
Professional pilot.
For our first thing, topic that we want to talk about is, we thought we would go over our favorite comedy events of 2023. Some of the favorite things that we've done. We're both comedians. I should have said that. John's also a comedian, if you can't tell by how he's just busting my gut right now. Okay, he's real funny. And so we both do a lot of shows, and so we thought we would talk about some funny, awesome things that we've done in comedy this year.
Why don't you start, honestly?
Okay, yeah, why not? It's my podcast, so I better start. I would say, my favorite thing that I've done this year, comedy-wise, was I headlined for the first time. I don't know why, but I've never, really seen myself, as a headliner. It's always just been oh yeah, maybe one day. And then this last winter, I got an opportunity to go back to Grand Forks, North Dakota. I'm from Fargo, and Grand Forks is an hour and a half away. So we went to Grand Forks, and yeah, I did 45 minutes of comedy for the first time, and I was scared to death to do it. It was terrifying, but I did it, and it went well, all the better. I had a ton of family come out, which was nice. I feel like that helped it go well. But I've also bombed in front of my family, so I know they won't lie. So that was really fun. And then that night after the show, I should talk about the show for a little bit. It was in the Prohibition Comedy Room, which is inside the Spud Junior Restaurant. It's a very cool room. If you're listening from North Dakota, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, shout out Justin.
Yeah, shout out to Justin for booking that room. And they have an amazing green room. And the entire pre-show, they were playing the Fire Festival documentary. So I was very stressed out. I was like,
Wait, they were playing that in the bar?
No, in the green room.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
So I'm just like in the green room sweating, feeling like I can't do this. And then like on TV, it's just the countdown to the Fire Festival and the disaster that was. And it was just a lot of stress. I was just very nervous. But then we took Brandon, and Brandon did amazing. And we took Mariana, and Mariana did amazing too.
Yeah, I was really proud of you guys.
It was so fun. John could not come, which was really sad.
Yeah, I've been, I kind of was booking that room, honestly, exclusively for like a little bit. And that was one of my goals, was to get you on there as the headliner. And
we had some friends who were pretty desperate and willing to go, so thank you guys. And it was an awesome show. So we did that. The first night on Friday was a public show, and that went unbelievable. It was so fun. It's one of those moments where you're like, oh, this is why I want to do comedy. But then, after that, it was great. And then, unfortunately, that night, I threw up all night long. Thank you, Mariana, for saving my life. And was not sure I was going to make it to the Saturday show. But thankfully, thank the Lord, I was able to recover and get back to Grand Forks for the Saturday show, which was a corporate show, which had a very different vibe from the public show.
Yeah, you've told me before, but like, what's the vibe difference?
It was rough. Thank you for asking. It was rough. You're doing a good job as a producer. It was rough. I would say public show was everyone's very excited, a lot of energy. And then for the private show, it was a corporate gig. So that's what made us all our money, and we're beyond grateful that we had that opportunity. But if you're a comic, you know that, and if you're not a comic, now you know that corporate shows can be really tough, and this was one of them. Everybody had a glass of wine, nobody smiled, and we all just ate it for a long time. And it was a good thing the show the day before went so good, because that was humbling. It was really one of those weekends where they build you up and then they knock you back down.
Did they tip you at the end on top of, or that there was no tip?
I was unaware that you could get tipped. Oh. So I guess no, they didn't.
Oh. Well, I guess like last time that I was there, like, and I arranged the show there, like, people got tipped because for the corporate show, so. But it was a different company, though, to be fair. So
yes, we did not get tipped. Our tip was that we got to leave at the end. That was enough for us.
You weren't chased out.
Yeah, well, we didn't have to stay longer. The comedy club was unbelievable. The comedy club was not the problem. And I don't even want to blame the people. I just feel like corporate comedy shows, if you are not wanting, if not everybody wants a comedy show, you should not have a comedy show. Because those people clearly were staying for a raffle or some, like, prize, and they were not interested in an hour and a half of comedy. So, I don't know. It was a real lesson. It was a lesson. But that's what you have to do in comedy, and it doesn't take away from the best part of the weekend, which was headlining for the first time.
I'm so proud of you. You did a really good job. And also, like, for those who didn't know, Paula moved, and I moved from North Dakota down to Tennessee. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, it was just a nice kind of, like, come home, homecoming.
Yeah.
And,
it was. Yeah. It was nice to just, I don't know, be able to come back and prove that you actually have been doing something. I don't know, I guess it's that feeling of like seeing an old teacher from like middle school or high school, and you just want to tell them all the stuff that you've accomplished so that they know that you've actually done stuff. So yeah, I would say that was probably my favorite part of the year, comedy wise. And then also another thing is I feel like this is the year that I've really solidified like an act. So not just like jokes, but like a 1 hour beginning, middle, end sort of like whole act. And don't get me wrong, it's not done yet, but I've not felt closer to that. And so that has also been really good. What about you? What was like one thing that you feel like was a highlight for comedy this year?
Well, honestly, I would say the first thing that comes to mind is I got to work with Nate Land, which is owned by Nate Bargatze, and his wife is one of the producers as some of the projects. And if you don't know Nate, just know that he's on Netflix. He's got a great special on Amazon Prime. And
John, okay, my comedy style is very low energy. I like to bring it down. Like, I like to bring everybody down. And John, he likes to build everybody up. So he was perfect for that. You got the crowd going, and Nate laughed at one of your jokes, which was unbelievable.
yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I wish I could have seen it, but
Yeah. But I saw it, and it was awesome. And I got to be in the green room, so that was fun. I felt just excited to be able to be there and like watch him achieve my dream. No, just kidding. Our dream. But that was really fun.
Yeah, that was honestly one of the big ones. And I tried comedy producing, so I produced that show that you were on. It was weird because I didn't go to any of the shows that I produced. I did it from afar, and
but you did a good job.
Yeah, I mean no one got asked to not come back, so that's a good sign.
That's a win. That's not always the case.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I would say that. All in all, like, that was probably my favorite comedy. And then...
our residency. You should talk about your residency,
too.
Yeah.
You're so right. So this year, I did a hosting residency at Zany's for 2 months. And it was beyond crazy cool. And I loved every second of it, being able to do that. I never thought at this point that I would get that opportunity. And so I'm super grateful. However... I learned that I am not a naturally great host. And I'll consider myself more of a feature act. Maybe even a headliner soon. But definitely hosting is what I probably could work on the most. So it was super fun to get to know a bunch of comics. It was really fun to have the stage time. Anytime I get to perform at Zany's, I feel like the coolest person in the world. And that was all great. And I got some really good feedback from a lot of people that I really trust and care about, which was also good. And everyone was so supportive. But I did not, however, do a great job, in my opinion. But it's the little things. I think it was fun. I would say, like, my favorite part about it was just coming in and having, like, an excuse to talk to everybody. Sometimes I get in the green room and I feel like nobody wants to talk to me. And this is nobody's making me feel this way. This is in my own head. But I just feel like, nobody's like wants to talk. Everybody, I'm bothering people. But being a host, it was like I was able to meet everybody, introduce myself, talk to them, get to know them, and then just... it felt a little bit more natural for me to be able to do that. So there's a lot of comics that I wouldn't have met as much. Like, I would probably have known them, talked to them a little bit, but I got to talk to them a lot more.
Who are some of them that you met that you, like, really remember?
I'm horrible with, like, names, but there's a band, those 2 guys that sing. What are their names again?
Oh, Good Cop, Rad Cop.
Good Cop, Rad Cop. And by the way, it's not like they're not good and I can't remember. Like, they're fantastic. I'm just dumb and can't remember people's names. But that one, those guys were so entertaining,
Yeah.
and they always get the crowd going. So that was awesome. Man, it was months ago, and again, I'm really bad with names, so it was hard to. Jake Austin Johnson.
James Austin Johnson.
James Austin Johnson. James Austin Johnson, who's on SNL. He's hilarious, and he's probably one of those people that I'd be like maybe intimidated to introduce myself to, just because he's so funny. But then, being the host, I feel like I was able to be like, "Hey, I'm Paula." Yeah. And honestly, everybody. Like, there was another girl, Grace, who I wish I could tell you her last name.
Leishman.
Probably.
Out of Chicago.
Chicago, there you go. John knows everybody. Grace Leishman, and she was so fun and nice and very funny, and it was fun to have another gal around. Not that she was the only female, but I think she was definitely one of the only females that night. Too. One fun fact about John is that John remembers every name and every face and every bit. He can remember like a mofo, like a crazy person.
I honestly do take inventory of comedians like some guys do baseball cards, like their stats.
Yeah.
Like, I'll bring up their bit, be like, oh, I love that bit about balloons you do on your second album, and like it's comedians. I feel like it's pleasant for comedians to hear. At least in my head, it is.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it'd be like, which is what I like, because like it shows that like you're actually listening to these people who are putting their heart in. It's just, nothing's the same in comedy.
Right. And I feel like I listen to people, but then I just don't retain it very well. I don't know. Must be something wrong with me.
Which is funny because you're the more organized of us two, if I had to argue.
That's nice. So I would say that was probably the best part of the residency, was just to get more familiar. And also it did teach me that hosting is a skill that I need to improve on, and I'm excited to do that at some point. Just having either higher energy or maybe just like tighter, just going faster. I'm still working through it. But yeah, I would say that's probably the highlight of comedy.
Yeah. What about like non-comedy? Or like some of the things that just like switch gears, Yeah,
I would say, okay, so dipping out of comedy now, I would say the biggest thing that we did this year was we got married, which was extremely fun and exciting. Okay. It was fun. I mean, obviously I enjoyed it. I had a nice time.
Yeah, Paula, she looks so beautiful, and everything that we had that was possibly like, it's hot, that was like expected, at least going into the weekend.
Yes, it was really humid the whole day leading up to, so the ceremony was at like 4, and before then, all day, it had rained, like, a lot, and it was downpouring, and so it was super dark, so the humidity, which is already pretty high, was just through the roof. So there were some people that were really fighting for their lives out there, but it was nice. Like, everybody still looked great, all the pictures looked great. I want to like say thank you to so many people, but I feel like I've thanked them all individually, and I don't know who's all going to listen to this first episode, so I don't know if it matters. But while we're here, thank you to all of our friends and family. Thank you to Drew Davis for hosting, for
kind of hosting
the marriage, being the officiant. Thank you to Beth Hill for taking the best wedding pictures I've ever seen in my life. They are unbelievably perfect. And the venue, we got married at Firefly Lane, the most romantic lane in the land.
Yeah, honestly, it was ideal, if I had to be honest with you. So
yeah, it was fun. Okay, so I think my favorite part of the wedding, and we could honestly do a whole episode about our wedding, because there was a lot of...
We probably will.
There was a lot of craziness. But I think one of my favorite parts of the day was our vows. That was so fun. And just like, it was a very sentimental moment. I nearly cried. John was good, but I started to, get the, lump in my throat.
Oh, really? During your vows?
During your vows. They were
Oh.
so beautiful. John writes good vows. So
Hire
hopefully
me.
no hire him to be a groom at your wedding.
Philip, you're listening. I can write your vows.
Yeah, on TikTok, there's a lot of people who could use help with that. But then my other favorite part of the night was when the music cut on and we danced the night away. John was sweet and was going around and talking to all of our guests and being very nice and helpful and appreciative, and I was on the dance floor dancing my little hiney away, having the best time with all my friends, and there was some drinks, and I had a perfect evening.
Honestly, and that was so well deserved because you also put a lot of thought into our playlist. We spent the whole time
We did.
on the way to Knoxville pretty much that one time making our playlist, which was
If you're getting married, one thing that I recommend, because I think this was one of my favorite pre-wedding planning things that we did, we went the DJ. We did not have a DJ, and instead we created our own Spotify playlist, and we took a drive in the car for 3 hours, and we went through all the songs that we had sort of added over a couple months, and we would veto a song or add a song, and we just played every song, and we sang to it, and we listened to it, and we did that for probably 2 hours.
easily, yeah.
Yeah, until we got a playlist that we both really liked, and it was that was an experience in itself.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just one of the elements that honestly functions so well with Paula and I is our ability to travel, because we honestly we get so much done when we travel together.
We do. We're good travelers.
It's it's like how some people have weekly face to face with works with their coworkers. Paula and I do we do our weekly car trip.
Yeah, I'm so close to getting a binder and being these are all the things that we need to talk about while we drive. But yeah, that was so fun, and I highly recommend that. And it's a lot cheaper. Although I did make the mistake of ruining my phone on the Bachelorette weekend, which then caused there to be a little bit of a music problem day of, which was not fun. But shout out to Tanner Newcomb, an amazing comic in the area, who fixed the music and saved the wedding reception. It was very, very kind of him to do that, and we're very lucky that he had the talent to do that, and him and Drew
the talent.
Well, I could not figure it out. He really was problem solving. I'm pretty sure he did something in the parking lot with the mute. I don't even know, but he saved that. So yeah, that was really fun. I enjoyed the whole day. The whole day was awesome. Getting ready.
I feel like we've only been here for a year, but that's not the point. I guess you can just talk about how you went from literally to being the bridesmaid to being the bride to now eventually being the maiden of honor.
Yes, my sisters got engaged. We're very excited. Been a long time coming, to a nice German boy, Philip. And so yeah, to go from a bridesmaid for my cousin's wedding, who I ended up gaining a best friend, and then she was in my wedding, and then now my sister getting married. It's been really a great year and a half for marriages. My parents financially are probably freaked out having to pay for 2 weddings in a year, but that's not my problem.
Honestly, debt is just a made up thing. A credit score.
Money's not real.
Money's not real. Student loans don't exist.
We don't believe that.
We don't. Yeah. This is to everyone out there. We are financially responsible.
We're trying our best.
Yeah, we are.
So that was a really exciting personal thing. One thing that we also did was we went to Phoenix for John. John competed in the U.S. National Yo-Yo Contest in 2A, which is a division that he's never competed in before, and 4A, which he is a world champion in.
Yeah, it was fun. Honestly, like the reason I brought you out there and to the previous regional you went to too last year, I guess I realized, is because honestly you hadn't seen that part of my life yet. Where like what a yo-yo contest was like. So it was like kind of like one of the only times before we got married to like make that happen. But it was very 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 nice to see these friends that I grew up with, some newer friends, some kids that and like other younger people who I follow on Instagram that just do the craziest yo-yo stuff these days. It was, yeah, I mean, I hope Paula had fun. I think you did. You got to meet people and you got to see your cousin.
I had a lot of fun. They had a pool. I like a good pool. They had some mimosas, which I also enjoyed. And then I would like go in and watch John. He did have a lot of fun yo-yo friends. That was fun to meet. Also, yeah, on that trip, I got to meet my cousin and his wife's baby, who they had at my wedding. This was before the wedding, like a couple months. So I got to meet them her for the first time, the little baby, and she was beautiful and it was perfect. And I wish I could have spent more time with them, but I'm also really glad for the time that we did have together. Which, yeah, we all went to a brewery and they took their child, and they're like responsible parents, but she did amazingly well. Like,
yeah, she's a trooper.
Yeah, I thought she would probably last like 20 minutes, and she lasted like an hour. And she was like right on the cusp of like walking and standing, so she was still pretty like chill, but she's a great baby, and she's the cutest darn baby.
Yeah.
Speaking of that trip, so the yo-yo and the meeting the new baby were amazing. And I'm not saying the baby's name because I feel like
it's
that's
just
like
a privacy thing. Yeah.
But it's a darn cute name. It's the best name. I found out about something called clear scorpions, and I guess scorpions that are like translucent, so you can't see them unless you have a black light. So I could not like bring myself to calm down. I had John like rolling around in our bed, like checking the crevices and the comforter for scorpions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would be like, John, just put your hand down there and in the sheets and like really get in there and make sure there's no scorpions.
It's one of the things about marriage for any guys wanting to get married out there. Sometimes you just got to be willing to get bit.
Get willing to get bit. Yeah, you know what? He was willing, and I appreciate that. We were on like the 30th floor of the hotel. There was no reason for me to be that scared, but I just couldn't get it out of my head.
Well, there was no reason for that Uber driver to present that in your head.
That poor Uber driver had some terrible luck. She had somebody die. Well, no, she had somebody who was bit by a scorpion, or stung by a scorpion, the translucent kind, and then went into a coma. So she told us that story, and I was like, thank you for that. Love that. And then I was like, well...
And she was like, have a good weekend.
Well, then she told the story about her other friend who died from getting bit by a brown recluse spider, which are all over Tennessee. So that was the most horrifying Uber ride of my life. And I feel bad for that girl because she's really been through it with bugs. She should move to North Dakota. There's no bugs. The only bummer is I did not sleep very good on that trip because I was constantly worried of being murdered by a scorpion. But they did have some alcohol, and during the day that really took the edge off.
Prime time for my wife.
I don't believe alcohol should solve your problems. If you're turning to alcohol for, relief, I think that that's bad. However, in this one situation, it did work out, and I'm not proud of it. And next time, I'm gonna try not to do that so much. But it was nice that one time.
You're ridiculous.
Yeah, that was scary, but the trip was all in all great, and we didn't run into a single scorpion. So I don't know what I was so worried about. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I I guess after that, like, we should talk about like what we're looking forward to
in 2024. Kind of shifting back to comedy here, is I'm hoping to record my very first hour. I have no details of like where or when or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure it will be what's the word?
Self-produced.
Self-produced or produced by friends, because I'm not really in the place to have any fancy thing. But I'm really excited about it. I have been doing comedy for like 6 years, since I was probably like 19. And 19, maybe 20. Between 5 and 6 years. And most of that was in North Dakota. So it was like one open mic a week. Which, that's great, but he didn't really get that good that fast. Mm-hmm. So I've had like a decent amount of comedy under my belt, but since moving to Nashville, I feel like it's just exploded in terms of like how many jokes I feel like I have now. And before moving, I felt like I was pretty funny. And then once I moved, I was like, man, I have so much work to do. I have so much to like grow and get better at. And so now I've lived in Nashville for 2 years. And I feel like I've never been more confident in my jokes that I'm doing. And there's a good like arc, like I said, that beginning, middle, end. So I'm really excited, and hopefully I can record it and have it put out by the end of the year. That's probably my big comedy goal. 2022 was unbelievable for opportunities. Like, I was getting to do shows that I never dreamed that I would get to do. I got to be on like Dusty's Grand Old Comedy Show, and then I got to do Zany's for the first time. So 2022 is a big year for opportunities, but 2023 was a big year for just building jokes, building an act, getting an hour together. I feel better than I've ever felt about it, and I feel like this year is going to be a great year for recording an hour. Hopefully we can pursue that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But that's something I'm looking forward to. What about you? What's something you're excited about?
Honestly, I'll do a little bit of yo-yoing, but I'm really just excited I'm just kind of excited to see how things unfold in 2024. Because, yeah, I mean, I know you want to talk about me doing 5A in yo-yo, but, yeah, I mean, 5A, for those who don't know, it's a totally different style. Like, when I did U.S. Nationals this last year, I really wanted to compete in a division I never really do, which was 2A, and I ended up getting third somehow in the nation. And but yeah, it was a really I want to take on 5A just because there's a few things kind of dying in the yo-yo community in terms of style, at least in the United States, and if I can prevent that, I will. It's like forest fires, if I can do something, I will.
Only you can prevent the destruction of 5A yo-yoing.
Yeah, exactly. So, but, yeah, it's going to be exciting, and I'm really excited to move into our new place. I have dreams about it right now.
That's the thing that when we were making this podcast and we were kind of taking notes on what we wanted to talk about, he was like, I want to talk about the apartment. And I am really excited. It's a nicer apartment than I've really ever lived in my life, and it's in the city, so I've also never lived really inside of a big city, and so I think it's going to be fun and a big adjustment, but in a good way, and we're just really looking forward to that. So we're probably going to wrap it up. Hopefully we can edit this down a little bit. I'm really happy with this. It's the first one, so you gotta start somewhere. This one's not going to have any video, but hopefully we can edit this. I have my friend Allie, who's amazing at art stuff, and we're going to get a nice logo sort of for the podcast. We'll put this on YouTube just as audio with that logo, see how it does, and hopefully we can do video going from here. But if you like this podcast, please like it. Please comment. We have a ton of really fun topics we want to talk about. We'd love to talk about our wedding. We'd love to talk about football. We're both into football. And football season's actually just kind of about to wrap up, so that's probably fun, something we could talk about before the Super Bowl.
Before I resume into sadness.
And FCS college football we're really big into, so we could do an episode on that, or we could also talk about yo-yoing, and I think we do need to do an episode about comedy, like our favorite comedians, maybe our favorite specials, just a full comedy podcast. So let us know in the comments what you want to hear from us, or if you have any comments on this episode, please let us know. We're hoping that it's only going to get better from here. And yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the very first episode of the PaulaCast, featuring our guest host, John Narum, everybody.
Thank you for having me.